Well, Rita and James, a week of the coalition struggling around. Are they together? Are they not together? Who's to blame? Who did what wrong? And all. Oh, it's been a shambles, but maybe they're getting their act together. What do you think, Rita?
Well, from the outside, it looks like the Liberals have capitulated and agreed to those 4 non-negotiables, essentially, that the Nationals said they needed to see in place before they would sign up the coalition. It's just been very confusing week, because at one stage we were told, oh, no, Susan Lee's not wanting to have this coalition reformed. It's going to be 3 years before there's another agreement. And then within a couple of days, it seems like we're on the verge of the coalition being reformed. And I think the Nationals for non-negotiables, a couple of them might, for city folk, seem a bit strange, but I think they speak to their electorate. And given that the Nationals are the ones who actually performed well at the election, they've got a fair bit of leverage, James.
Well, yes and no, because I think that all of this really looks really bad for David Littleproud. You know, let's not forget, David Littleproud is the guy who led them into this whole disastrous situation where they wound up pulling the pin on the coalition. Now, I don't really think that the 4 issues that we're talking about, aside from nuclear, were really the proximate reasons why this whole thing blew up. You know, the party room dynamics of the National Party is a very interesting sort of thing. Matt Canavan, I understand, challenged for leadership, came closer than David Littleproud thought he was going to. David Littleproud, who was just on Andrew Clennell just now, basically forced through this whole demerger of the coalition in an attempt to hold on to his own power. So the whole thing, I think,
but
with him going back, but when he goes back and then, has to go and beg Susan Ley to take them back, I think that he's actually really weakened in the long run the Nationals' position, so long as at least David Littleproud remains leader. And the big question now is, who comes next? Does Littleproud stay as leader, or does the party room now look at him as having led them up the garden path on going to this demerger and spill him for somebody else?
But the first thing to say is that Littleproud did lead the Nationals, or was pushed by the National Party room into the Voice, which was terrific, and that had terrific results. So a bit of backbone is a good thing to see. But the real issue here, Rita and James, in my opinion, is net zero. That's the elephant in the room, and all this is just shadow dancing around that issue. Now, the 2 leaders, Susan Lee and David Littleproud, are on the left of both their parties, on the wetter side, the bedwetting side. They clearly are still clinging on to net zero. Susan Lee obviously is of that faction. David Littleproud, just talking to Andrew Clennell, was equivocating, but basically, oh yes, very important that we cut emissions. Nonsense, absolute nonsense. The rest of the world is abandoning net zero, abandoning the idea of cutting emissions. Donald Trump is attacking Keir Starmer. We've had the New Zealanders abandoning it. Everyone is moving away from this. The single most important issue that the Nationals and the Liberals and the coalition all have to decide is whether they abandon net zero. If they want to win the next election, they have to. There is no other issue. The rest of this is smoke and mirrors, in my opinion.
I agree 100% on that. It is interesting, though, that both Susan Lee and David Littleproud, on the left of their respective parties, they don't get along. They don't like each other. And I think that dynamic has also played a role in this. But yeah, there's all sorts of another leadership challenge. A bunch of names being thrown up, not just Matt Canavan, but we're talking about
Michael McCormick is certainly one. Barnaby Joyce has said that he would back Michael McCormick. The AFR has reported that.
Well, we've got Matt Canavan on the show shortly, so we'll be putting all those questions to Matt.